The Bigfooty Port Adelaide podcast is proudly sponsored by New Vision.
My team, Conda, power. I love the power. I love the power.
G'day everyone, I'm Macca19 and this is the Bigfooty Port Adelaide podcast, coming to you live on Port Fan Radio. Joining me as usual is Rick. How are you, mate?
Very, very well. What about you?
Not too bad, buddy. Not too bad. I've recovered from the disappointing weekend and feeling pretty good today.
Glad you have. I haven't. I got into my business and one of my employees walks around the corner with a big grin on his face and a horrible Crows Guernsey on, which very, very disappointed me immensely. And then my agnostic accountant decided to come in and also throw a few barbs at me about the Crows beating Port, even though apparently he doesn't follow football. So, but you know what? I didn't.
Mate, you need to liaise with better people, I think.
Well, I didn't start a fight in the office, and I just sucked it up and threatened him with being fired. That's all.
You just started a fight on the hill, am I right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
That's it.
I thought that was you.
No, not me, mate. Not me. No.
No? What do you think about all that?
Well, it's just a bit silly, isn't it? Like, you know, enough's enough with this sort of thing. It's not really necessary.
Well, I can't see what benefit it adds.
But I guess you get boos and people with high emotions and a bit aggressive together, and that's what's going to happen, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think it's really acceptable, though. It's a bit, and I think it's just embarrassing for the sport. You know, not even a particular footy club. I just think for the sport overall, it's it's just embarrassing. I mean, I was sitting in Bay 311 in the sort of the corporate members tickets. You know, so if you're part of the captain's club or player sponsor, you can get tickets in that section of this stand. And there was a woman throwing punches at a guy, and they got evicted. It's just out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a bit more calm where I was. We were sat in front of a few loudmouth Crow supporters, and things could have kicked off if we were a bit more aggressive, because they were pretty aggressive themselves. But it was all good fun, good banter. So that's how it should be.
Look, I guess part of the problem is, I guess, that there's certain elements that go to antagonise, don't they? And we know it's a highly charged environment, and some people don't need to be provoked, and some people just go out of their way to provoke. So
very true, mate. Very true.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into our love and hate. One thing we loved, one thing we hated about Port on the weekend. What was your love, mate?
What did I text you? Ollie Wines.
I
loved Ollie. I mean, he's leading the Coaches Association Award at the moment. How old is he now? 22?
Yeah, about that. Yep.
Just amazing. He's just tidied up his disposal a little bit. He's really our leader as a 22-year-old. He is really our leader on the field, and if he got captaincy at the start of next year, would he be one of our youngest captains?
Quite possibly. Yep.
Because I think he's really the standout person to be our next captain, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's no doubt about that at all. I mean, it's between him and Ebert, really, but you would think they would go with Wines as the next captain because he's significantly younger and will have time to grow into the role. You would think, but yeah, look, he's my love as well. He's been absolutely stunning this year, and he looks to be moving a lot more freely than he was this time last year as well, which I think is having a huge impact in his midfield play. And you know, he's getting a lot of the ball, winning a lot of clearances. He's kicking goals as well. He's far and away our best player at the moment. And he's finally having the year that we all knew he could. He's been almost there for a while, but now it looks like he's finally got there and is becoming one of the elite.
Yeah, he's an amazing player, and he deserves to be leading the Coaches Association of the award at the moment. But hopefully he can continue it on and be that inspirational leader that we're looking for.
Yeah. Most importantly, I think, is that his disposal in the first 3 weeks has improved dramatically on what we've seen in the last couple of years.
Absolutely. And I guess we'll go to game style and all that sort of stuff. But I think he's still benefiting from, even though Powell Pepper had a bit of a quiet game, I still think he's benefiting from having that a little bit of extra big body support in there as well. But, yeah, what an inspirational player he is becoming.
That's it. What was your hate?
Well, we've sort of addressed the hate. So can I hate an individual player?
Yeah.
That's a bit harsh, though, isn't it?
Nah.
No? I really hate the fact that Sam Gray hit the post in the last quarter. As you know, because you received a text from me about 30 seconds, and I'm sure you were waiting for it. But that really killed the momentum of the game for us because, you know, he should have kicked it. We would have been 1 point behind. I think that would have been like 3 goals in a row to us. We would have been carrying a lot of momentum. And instead, he, a dead set sitter, and basically the Crows take it down the other end of the ground and just kick a goal. And, you know, that was pretty much the nail in the coffin. And, you know, I guess, you know, all jokes aside, it's not good to pick on an individual player, but, you know, he's had more than enough opportunities at senior level over the last 3 seasons to sort of cement a place. And unfortunately, in the big games, he doesn't have the composure and can cost us games. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm almost willing to put a line through that name, as harsh as that sounds.
It's the main thing that's disappointing for me is that we are now playing him back in the small forward role, which he failed at a couple of years ago, before he became a half reasonable midfielder for a little bit. He's not good in that role. He doesn't have the composure. He doesn't have the skill level. He doesn't kick goals. All he is a sheepdog at the moment that's sort of chasing after people.
Yes.
And that's fine, but you know, we can find other players that can do that. I mean, Need does that as well, but at least every now and then he kicks a goal. And you just knew as soon as Sammy Gray got that bowl that something bad was going to happen. Like, he was either going to hit the post or kick it out on the full or have it smothered, because that's what always happens. And as I said in my post-game review, which was probably a bit harsh, was that he's not good enough, and he arguably never was. I don't think he's going to get there. So yeah, look, if we're going to play Sammy Gray, he's got to play further up the field, not in a forward pocket. The forward pocket does not work, has never worked, and never will work. So it's either wing or nothing, as far as I'm concerned.
And at the moment, there's probably better wing options than him, so he needs to rely on injuries, really, to get an opportunity. But anyway, that's enough bashing, because it wasn't all his fault, however.
No, certainly not. Certainly not.
So,
but it definitely was it was a momentum killer, that's for sure. We've had a couple of hates on the forum from Porsche and Ryan Pillar, and it's both at the possible return of Matty Lobe. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. My hate was that we reverted back to how we played through 2015 and 16 when the pressure went up. Gone was the that methodical, calm way that we disposed and structured through defence, especially against Sydney. Not so much against Freo because we thrashed them, but the way that we were able to sort of move the ball against Sydney was fantastic, and it was replaced with the bomb and hope of the last couple of years on the weekend, and that pretty much cost us the game, I thought. When the pressure went up, we reverted back to type, and that was bitterly disappointing for me. Yeah,
I get that. It was an amazing change, really, because we were looking pretty solid, like our game plan was holding up, and I guess we'll go into it in a little bit. But yeah, we just really panicked and lost our structure, didn't we? And I guess it was a bit disappointing as a supporter because we sort of had this hope that we were making forward progress, and we just sort of reverted.
Yep, absolutely. Now let's talk about the big news for today, which is Paddy Ryder has been suspended for 1 match. Could be 2 if we choose to challenge and it fails. Obviously for his strike or alleged strike on Rory O'Reilly night, one of the Rory O'Reillys. How is this going to affect us against GWS, mate? Because Mumford pretty easily beat both Lobie and Trengove last year. He got Brownlow votes in 1 match. So which path do we go down again? Do we try Trengove? Or is he going to be too valuable down back with Homsch out as well?
Look, I think Mumford will be way too strong for Trengove through body mass size. And I actually think that maybe this is a reasonable matchup for Lobie to come back in and sort of pair up against Mumford. And if he can just sort of negate his body size and sort of just get the ball to ground for our midfielders, that's close enough for a win for us. Obviously, Ryder would have been a lot more convenient to sort of leap over the top of Mumford, but at least I think at least physically Lobie should be able to compete in that state. What do you think?
I'm really not sure. I don't know about bringing Lobie back in, but I kind of agree that he's probably the better option of the two. Trengove got smacked in the later game last year. I think it was something like 50 hitouts to 10, and Trengove just couldn't get any of his clearance work going against Mumford. But then Mumford got Brownlow votes against Lobie in the early game last year as well. So I don't know. I think if Lobie is to come in, he'll certainly physically try and match it with him. It's just we all know what his ruck work's like. When he gets hands on the ball, it tends to go to the opposition, and we just absolutely cannot afford that to happen against GWS.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, GWS is starting to get a roll on now, so we need to be able to compete at ground level. And look, I'm still optimistic that Lobie can sort of offset Mumford's influence. I mean, I'm not going to come out and say that he can be a match winner for us. If he can, I'll be amazed. But look, I think that he can actually do some negating there, that's for sure. And I guess I don't think Billy Frampton's up to it. I saw him in the change rooms last week before the game, whatever, the Fremantle game, and I don't think the kid's big enough yet. You know, I think size-wise he's still behind Jackson, body mass-wise. So I think, throwing Frampton in would be just crazy. So I guess really he's the only alternative at the moment. Should we be more disappointed with the fact that Ryder got himself rubbed out?
Well, I was just about to go on a bit of a rant and say how incredibly pissed off I am at Paddy for this. And this is something that we had all last year as well, wasn't it? Especially through the first sort of 6 or 7 weeks last year. Every single week we were commenting, Robbie Gray's got himself reported, or Hammer's got himself reported. It happened about 4 or 5 times in the first couple of months last year. And so far we're 3 weeks into the season, and we've had 4 players up for report. A couple in the pre-season and they're all with absolutely stupid things. Like, how many times has Hammer been reported for punching someone in the stomach? Must be about 4 or 5 times now. And for Ryder to do, he didn't have to do this. He chose to run at someone and knock them over. Whether he hit him or not doesn't matter. You put yourself in that situation, you risk getting burnt. It's absolutely fucking not good enough for a 4 senior players so far this year have done this. Not good enough. Pull your fucking heads in.
Jeez, you are angry. You're even swearing.
Well, careers are on the line here. We've had 2 absolute shit-house seasons, and we've got senior players doing this sort of thing and rubbing themselves out. Yeah. He's 29 years old. No one cares that you missed last year anymore. Pull your head in and play some football.
Yeah. I agree with you. I won't swear because you've done it anyway, but it's a lack of leadership as well, isn't it?
It is. It's a big lack of leadership.
And what we needed is some physicality around the contests, more so than sniping off the ball. And regardless if he hit him in the head or not, It doesn't matter. It was way off the ball, and it deserved a suspension. And I mean, we can go on about the Charlie Cameron incident. Yeah, I mean that could have been worth a suspension, but I would have rather
probably should have been as well, to be honest. But
I mean, I would have preferred, our players going over there and remonstrating with him and being physical there. That's where we probably are lacking that bit of wisdom and physicality in our game, in choosing the right time to actually get physical and stand up for our players. Because I don't think we're doing that enough, and those snipes really aren't the way to go about it.
Absolutely. Let's get on to some questions. CT Power has asked, where is Jarman Impey at?
I really liked Jarman the last two games, and I thought against the Crows, he might not have been the game changer, but I thought Jarman at least tried bloody hard, and he was always trying to take the game on and trying to create run and carry, and that's his job. And so I've been quite comfortable where Jarman's at this point in time.
I thought he was all right last week. This week, he was a little bit disappointing, I thought. He did certainly try and get things going, but more often than not sort of ran himself or teammates into trouble. But, yeah, I don't know. I really, really want Impey to become the player that he can become, because I think he's got incredible athletic traits. I think he's a pretty good user of the ball. He can kick goals. He can run super bloody fast. We need that sort of player to really make it, I think. And he's almost there. He's just got to go that extra 5-10%.
Yeah, but he's still a younger player, and he's getting there. And look, I think he's one of the lesser concerns that we have at this point in time.
That's it. Andre has asked, is Hinkley too slow to make changes during quarters when oppositions get a run, or is it mostly on the players, or a bit of both?
Well, I guess I was sort of questioning especially the Rory Laird. He was the one, I don't know if it was because he was wearing the long sleeves, but he was the one that was most noticeable to me.
Rory Laird. Atkins was wearing the long sleeves.
Oh, is it Atkins? Whatever. Yeah, they're all Crows players.
They're both Rorys, 21, so...
21 for the Crows.
Yeah, Atkins.
I thought he was quite damaging at the stoppages. He was in and under, buzzing around, and he was just completely unaccountable from a Port Adelaide perspective. No one was manning him up the whole game. And he was getting good ball and using it well. And, to me, and then you got Rory Sloane, best on ground. We did seem, I don't know, were we just confident in our players being able to go head-to-head with theirs, and we just didn't get the chocolates this game? Is it as simple as that?
I'm not sure what sort of changes we really could have made. I mean, we really needed to work on the sort of structural changes in terms of what we were doing, trying to get the ball out of the defensive 50 were a joke. And they certainly could have changed, but I did like the way that we were trying to move the ball once we got through that. We certainly tried to run and beat them with pace, and it did work a lot of the time. Our forward structure was a little bit off, but I don't know. It was one of those sort of... I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think Hinkley maybe was a bit too slow to make some changes, but it is mostly on the players as well to sort of stand up and be counted in a big game.
Did they stand up?
Well, we lost the game.
Was it an honourable defeat?
Probably not. It's a hard one to answer, isn't it? That one. Depends what your definition of honourable is. But we gave it a fair crack and we lost. But we had our chances to win that game. We had our chances to stay on top, and once again we couldn't deliver. So just like last year, near enough is not so much good enough anymore.
No, I don't think so. I have high expectations, and especially after the first two rounds, I really thought the boys were playing a lot better brand of football. And look, I guess at the same time, what they're playing at the moment is definitely a lot better. than what they served up in the last 2 years. So, even though we're being a bit critical at this point in time, I guess, we just have high expectations.
We do, and look, I don't like losing to the Crows. It's the 4th time in a row we've lost to them now, 5 out of the last 6. They've certainly got the wood on us, and it reminds me back when we had the wood on them. We were playing as a team and they were playing as a group of individuals, and we've swapped places now. They structure up perfectly and they play together as a group, and we don't do that.
And I've got to say, though, just looking at the ladder, we're still 4th on the ladder, so it's not the end of the world. And, you look at our defence. Our defence is actually pretty strong. Like, score against, we're...
Yeah.
So we're able to limit the opposition score, which is a good thing. It probably helps that we played Freo, but
we didn't play bad on the weekend. We just didn't win. That's all.
But... We probably lost by a quarter, which is half a quarter in the second and third quarters, really, isn't it?
Yeah. But again, it was the same story last year, and you mentioned that in the pre-season as well. Like, one bad quarter loses us the game. Well, it's time we got to try our very hardest to stop that from happening.
Absolutely. What's the chat room saying?
The chat is going off, mate. Dylan's offered to drink his own urine if something happens, if Lobie plays well. So that'll be interesting.
Please, Lobie, do. I want to see a Facebook bloody live image of this one.
That'd be great.
Dylan's golden shower.
That's it. Andre has asked, has our senior players wilted under pressure again? Are some of them never going to be mentally tough enough for these types of games?
Oh, now you're firing me up, Macca. You're firing me. Yes, there's a couple there. I've had Westhoff in my sights for a few years, and yes, I did defend him last week. I thought his positioning maybe was better, but that tap he did in the first quarter I thought was horrendously bad for a mature player. He could have taken the ball, and at worst he would have got tackled and could have had a stoppage, but he almost looked scared to take the ball, to be honest, and just tried to tap it over his back, do something fancy to another Port player. Didn't even get it close to the Port player, and then that ball ran down. That was the Crows' first goal. It was a very, very disappointing passage of play. People are, a lot of supporters are now starting to question what is Justin doing, and who knows. And I think the other one that seems to dodge a bullet, and I think even you might have graded him too highly, or maybe it was other people's feedback, but Matthew Broadbent only had 4 disposals to the half time, and it's not good enough. And again, he is another one of these repeat offenders that in clutch situations or clutch games disappears or doesn't seize his opportunities. In those moments, he doesn't seem to be able to raise a level, and it's players like those guys that really influence the team in a negative way, and they don't stand up repeatedly.
Yeah. I will say that Brody was doing more of a shutdown role as opposed to his usual sort of freewheeling sort of role. He had the job on Lynch, and he didn't. He got taken off Lynch. Lynch played a great game, I thought. But yeah, look, Brody certainly didn't. I didn't think he was one of the worst, but he probably could have played better. Westhoff was disappointing. You got to say, like, you never give up hope, but at this point in time, a lot of our senior players are. Getting on a bit now. So you've got to say that if they're not mentally tough enough to win these games now, then they're probably not going to.
No, and they've been around long enough. And I just honestly think that some of these players have had their time in the sun. And he is one of them.
Us Against the Rest has asked, why has the Port Adelaide Footy Club become soft and accepting on and off the field?
Are we? We were fighting off the field. There was fights everywhere. So how are we soft off the field?
I think we could have certainly raised some points in the past few years about things that have happened. Certainly on field, I think we can be a little bit soft as well. I guess the thing with that is that we're in the dire situation where we desperately had to grow the club, which means we had to appeal to a broader range of people than just the diehard Port Adelaide Footy Club fans. And in doing that, I think sometimes you let your standards slip.
Yeah, I think on the field we've been a little bit soft at times. You could argue that the first half of the first quarter was not a soft game of football. That was intense and physically strong, and the players were up to the challenge. But we sort of drifted off from there. And then I didn't think... as I said earlier, we don't seem to fly the flag at the right times. Now, off the field, I don't know what do they expect? You want Koshy to come out and be hypercritical, and then what happens? And people complain he's got to shut his mouth and just stick to admin. I think off the field we can't do much more. On the field is where the issue is.
Okay, fair enough. Long Live PAFC has asked, what's the missing piece of the puzzle for Port? Should we have chased a Lewis or Mitchell type of player?
What do you think? I don't think so.
Probably, I don't think that would have been the missing piece. I think, if anything, we need to go the other way and attack the draft aggressively. That's it for me, I think.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I was happy with our strategy, and look, I don't think we need band-aid solutions like Lewis and Mitchell. I mean, how's Lewis going for Melbourne at the moment?
Probably had a good weekend off, mate.
Probably hit the piss, smoked a few cones, did all the good stuff in life that footy players do when they're suspended.
Right, let's get on to the review. Showdown 42 came and went with the Crows winning their fourth consecutive showdown, this time by 17 points, 12 goals 11 to a 15 goals 10. Ollie Wines, Chad Wingard and Robbie Gray kicked 2 goals each. I guess the big question, mate, is why did we lose this one?
Why did we lose it? I think the Crows were just a well-drilled outfit and a stronger drilled outfit than us. And I guess from my observation, I thought they were able to nullify Ryder's influence, even though he had the extra dominance in the centre square. We just didn't seem to get our players at the fall of his taps. So obviously we lost the clearances around the ground as well as in the centre square. It seemed that the Crows took extra numbers to the fall of the ball, and I think they seemed like, where I was in the Western Stand, it was quite often they just had a loose player inside the oval side of the, if I explain it right, inside the pack, like inside the oval, and that person was receiving the ball quite often, and the person that was giving it was running hard to receive it, which means their work rate was a lot harder. Yeah. And they just worked a lot harder for longer than what the Port Adelaide players did. And because they were able to move the ball easier out of the clearance with a lot more speed, even though we had extra numbers behind the ball, really it didn't help us because they were obviously still able to find lots of holes and gaps. Even with those 2 spare players we had behind the ball, which means it defeated the purpose of having those there to try and run the ball back on a counter-attack. I did think, however, that our defensive shape was holding up strong for reasonable periods of time, which it had for pretty much whole games the previous 2 weeks. So I could see the shape was there, but unfortunately a weight of numbers and pressure sort of became a little bit overwhelming in the end, and the Crows were able to overcome it. I thought Tom Cleary got a little bit exposed by Taylor Walker. I thought Tom was trailing, probably wasn't 100% on him and focused all the time, and just got caught in that whole bit of Bobby Carlisle just trailing behind the forward all the time, and being close but not close enough, so to speak. So I think he got caught out. Houston, I think, maybe got a little bit overawed, but the thing I liked about Dan Houston as well was that he kept presenting, however. So, he kept trying the whole game.
Houston was good on the night. Cleary...
He was.
Yeah, look, Cleary. I thought Cleary had a really good first half, and probably had the better of Walker up to half-time, but after half-time, he was nowhere. He was trailing by a good 4 or 5 metres, and Walker basically did what he wanted after half-time, and that was a big reason why they won.
I mean, look, a highlight to me was which quarter was it the last quarter they kicked to the southern end? It was, wasn't it?
Yep.
So in the last quarter, southwestern pocket, I can't remember which Crow player had the ball, but Walker just ran forward, jogged forward, I should say, into the forward 50. Cleary's behind him, and then he just turns around and receives a 15-metre chip kick without any pressure at all. Yeah. And Cleary just allows him to run to the ball, trailing behind, and then he kicks a goal on a nice angle from 45 metres out. I mean, that sort of just summed it up. You need to be more consciously aware and have more adrenaline, and just be not give him those easy kicks, because you give a good player like that enough opportunities from that distance and they'll start nailing them, and that's what he did. And that was sort of symptomatic, because our midfield sort of seemed to be a little bit off. Some of our forwards like Chad seemed to be a little bit off. There was just too many players on the night that just were there but weren't there at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Look, why did we lose? I think quite simply we lost control of the game too easily and allowed them the chance to take back that control. And it's happened numerous times over the last sort of 18 months, where we've had a really good first quarter, and then come the second quarter, we almost sort of drop our intensity by 5-10%, and it allows the opposition back in. And then when the pressure's on and things get a bit tough, we can't regain that control again until it's too late. That's happened a good sort of 5 or 6 times in the last season and a bit, and we really need to work on that. Ball movement coming out of the back line was a bit of a disaster through the middle 2 quarters. It was just really bomb and hope stuff, as I mentioned before. And we played dumb football, and the Crows, where I can sit now, I can see the structures very clearly. And the Crows had up to 8 players sometimes on their own as a defensive zone, all set up for the kick and hope out of their back line. And time again, it went over the heads of our players and straight down the throats of one of those 8 players. And all we did was kick it to them pretty much time and time again. And not once did any of our forwards think to move further up the ground and not allow them so many uncontested marks for the clearance kick. It was just pretty silly football, and for me that was very, very poor coaching. I thought we struggled when delivering the ball inside 50. We only took 9 marks inside 50 from 58 entries, which is pretty poor. Again, we sort of kicked over heads, or sort of ground balls, and just couldn't hit targets on the night. And quite simply, they bossed us in the contest and the clearance once again, and as they've done for the last 2 years now. And the likes of Sloan and Douglas and Matt Crouch pretty much did what they wanted through those middle 2 quarters in the midfield, and that's where they got control of the game.
One player I thought who stood up, who's been under a lot of criticism, especially early, was Hamish Hartlett. I thought when the heat of the battle was on, I thought Hamish, he kept going for the hard ball. He was going low. He was putting his body on the line, and he seemed, watching the game live, obviously you always get a little bit distracted, but he seemed to be using the ball reasonably well. I thought our transition was there. We had a few coast-to-coast movements as well, so we were able to transition the ball quite well, but we just seemed to panic. And I think that's because they kept getting extra numbers to the fall of the ball. Yeah,
for sure. Look, I thought Hammer played a pretty good game, to be honest. I thought, he had a really tough opponent in McGovern, who's taller, stronger, is one of the best contested marks in the league. And when Hammer went to him, I thought, oh my God, what are they doing? But he actually kept McGovern pretty well quiet the entire night, which I thought was great. And he provided a little bit going back the other way as well. So he did make some errors. And there was probably 2 or 3 moments in, I think, the third quarter, which he'd like to forget. But overall, I thought Hammer's performance was more on the positive side.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought Darcy Byrne-Jones was fantastic once again too.
Mm. Yeah, he was pretty good, I thought. Probably a little bit sloppy. Again, like he was one of the worst offenders of the let's just boot it as hard as we can out of the defensive 50. And I reckon a good sort of 4 or 5 of his kicks did come straight back in. But defensively, he was pretty good on the night.
So, we had the discussion before the game. A lot of fans are talking about bringing Houston in. Sorry, not Houston. Pittard in for Houston. So, or Amon. Do you think Pittard should have come back in?
It's a tough one to say. Would we have won the game if he came back in? I don't think we would have. I don't think it would have made much difference, to be honest.
Well, I guess...
Because Houston did his job. Houston was great. Even after he got whacked, he was still doing his job. He took some really good marks. Again, he was brilliant with the ball in his hands. You take him out, you put Pittard in. I don't think we win the game.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought Amon was very, very inconspicuous, and Houston was sort of in and out, but you can completely understand that one. I think Pittard would have influenced the game a little bit more, but I wouldn't be adverse to actually Broadbent out and Pittard in. Honestly, I just think these senior players that fade in and out need to be held accountable. And,
well, it might happen. That very well might happen.
Well, I hope so. We need
to
make a stand.
Amon was after some, I thought, two reasonably impressive first couple of games. He was a bit disappointing on the weekend, and he got a bit of the ball, but he just burned it. And once again, he had his customary zero awareness, let's get done holding the ball at a crucial time thing, which he's done about 6 or 7 times now. The tools are there, the talent's there. He's just got to put it together, and I don't know. You can't really afford to have that sort of lack of awareness in crucial games.
No, and that costs games, and I think that's I guess I was all for rewarding the people that have been winning, but I guess this is where putting under the heat of the battle it exposes the players that need more time and aren't completely up to it. And I guess Amon, Broadbent and Westhoff were 3 that were really under the microscope for me.
Yeah. Brett Eddy, how did you see his game? Was that a performance which sort of showed he might not be good enough for this level, or do you think he was a little bit unlucky on the night?
Oh, I think he's a bit unlucky on the night. I think it's a bit of a harsh call. We didn't have great delivery. He wasn't really used as an option that often. I thought his goal that he kicked was quite nice. I'm pretty sure he did
a good goal.
couple of. Pretty sure, you would have been almost right behind that one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he had a couple of goal assists as well. I thought he was strong at the contest numerous times for minimal disposals. So look, I think there's a lot greater issues than Brett Eddy, and I think just putting a line through him is probably a bit early.
I think we still need him in the side, and I do like what he brings to the side when he gets the ball. He's a very smart user of the ball, and that goal he kicked was great. His lack of pace off the mark is showing a bit at the moment, and I can see clubs maybe putting someone smaller but quicker on him and trying to run off him a fair bit. And I think if that situation occurs, he might be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely, but he's still finding his way, and I think there's other people that we need to look at above him at this point in time, and I'd be happy to keep him in for our structures.
Yeah. Pal Pepper, he was much talked about before the game, his first showdown. How do you think he went?
Oh, look, a bit overawed, I guess, and he took a hard knock early. One of the Crows players came in with a flying knee to his sternum, but he kept persevering and playing on, and he wasn't our worst player by any means, and I'm not willing to say, we need to drop him yet. It was just one game, and I guess the big test is going to be for him coming up against GWS, which is starting to roll together a little bit more.
Yeah. Look, I thought he was poor in the first half. I thought maybe he was a little bit overawed. He was trying a bit too hard. But after half-time, I thought he got into the rhythm a fair bit and did have a bit of an impact after that. And again, he kicked a really nice goal. Again, a fairly long goal, I think, from memory too. So, he certainly tried hard, and that'll be good for him to play in that sort of game, I think. Yeah.
So look, I mean, for Houston, SPP, all those guys. I mean, it's their first one, and they're going to be better for it. And then where are we playing? We're playing at Blacktown or Canberra. So they're going to go from that to like 2,000 people in freezing cold. I mean, the bipolar opposite. But it will be a great experience for them.
Jonas's job on bets. How do you think that went?
I made the comment to the people that I was with. How does Eddie Betts knock Tom Jonas over when Tom Jonas is a tank?
That was weak. That was so weak.
And I was like, Eddie Betts must be deceptively strong because there's no way the size. I mean, Tom Jonas is a big bloody guy. He'd be my weight, probably 92, 93 kilos, but all muscle. Unlike me, probably fat. And, and he's a big guy. And Eddie Betts just pushed him over pretty easily. But I guess that's what happens if you don't have your body weight and your body position in the right position. It just shows that smaller players or smaller people can still knock you over. So from our perspective, it looks weak. But, I guess from Tom's perspective, he just did not have his body and weight in the right positioning. And look, Eddie Betts is bloody clever and a good player at taking advantage of that. And, but I'm sure Tom wouldn't have liked it. But after that, overall, I thought Tom had a pretty serviceable game. And, he'd have to be probably in the top 5 of the best players at the moment for the footy club after 3 rounds. Yeah,
you'd think so. Look, I thought he had a fairly dirty start to the game. You mentioned that contest there, and that was a very poor one. But and with the way Betts started, you thought, God, he's going to kick double figures here or something silly like that. But Jonas slowly sort of worked his way into the game and did have a very good second half, I thought, as well, and did manage to shut Betts out after that sort of big first quarter that he had, which was handy.
So how badly did we miss Jake Homsch?
Reasonably, I think.
Yeah.
I think he would have been a better option than Pittard coming in.
Yes.
And I think if Homsch was out there, there is a fair chance we might have won the game.
Well, I'm pretty sure there was a couple of marks that were taken that wouldn't have been taken if he was playing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no doubt about that. He was a big loss. He was a big, big loss because Walker was going off the chain and we had no one else that could sort of go on him without sort of robbing Peter to pay Pole a little bit. So in that regard, he was a massive loss.
Is his durability becoming questionable?
Oh, I guess it has to, doesn't it?
Or just a little bit unlucky at the moment?
It might be luck, but I don't know. He's had a couple of poor seasons injury-wise, so maybe it is becoming a bit of a trend.
Correct.
That's it. Polek, I thought, was pretty good again. He's certainly in consistent form this year. I really liked his run and carry, and again, the things he's doing in close along the boundary line is exceptional. And again, he was one of our better players in terms of delivering the ball and thinking before he kicked.
Yeah, Jared's in great form as well, and if we're talking about top 5 players, he'd have to be in there. He's that injury rumour obviously wasn't true because he ran beautifully well and he was always presenting. I just can't. I love watching Jared play. He's a great player, and it's just great to see him out on the park after what he's been through.
That's it. Anything else you want to add,
mate? Yes, because I won't be on Thursday. Unfortunately for you guys, I'll be flying to Bali.
Very nice.
And enjoying the lovely weather over there. So I guess the one question that I have is, what do we do with Brendan Archie?
Well,
30 disposals, 10 tackles, or 10 marks, 7 tackles, 3 goals. He's had a pretty solid start to the season before that game. Really, you have to reward good form, surely, don't you?
You kind of do. And look, we'll talk about that now. The Maggies started their premiership campaign on Friday night against Glenelg, and once again, like the Showdown, it wasn't a fruitful one. They also lost by 17 points in a very similar scoreline, 13 goals 7 to 15 goals 12. Arch was the clear best on ground with that huge performance, whilst Laddams, Marshall and Reynolds all kicked 2 goals each. But yeah, 30 touches, 10 marks, 3 goals, 7 tackles, 7 inside 50s. On form, you'd say he's got to come in, but does that make our midfield very one-dimensional?
Why is that?
Because we've got 3 other tall midfielders who maybe lack a little bit of leg speed in that midfield already.
Could he be rotated?
Maybe.
Well, I mean, if people are throwing up Atlee's name into the mix, he isn't an express midfielder either, though, is he?
He's got good pace. He's significantly quicker than what Archie is.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know, but I guess that's the dilemma.
Well, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because
you sort of have to reward that form.
Oh yeah, look, Archie's pretty much been the forgotten man this pre-season, and he's now come from the clouds and had an absolute huge best on ground performance. And on face value, you'd say you probably got to reward that, but it will depend what they've spoken about with Arch through the pre-season and whether they want to see that on a consistent basis before they bring him back in. Because as we've seen with Archie in the past, he's had huge games, and then the week after he's had a bit of a quiet one as well, and he lacks that bit of consistency. But look, I'm not against bringing him in. I do like Arch and I like what he brings, but I'm just concerned it might make our midfield a little bit one-dimensional.
So does it almost have to be SPP drops form consistently for a while, and then you replace him with Archie if he holds his form?
Maybe, yeah. Or it depends if Ebert goes back to a different sort of role, or whether Wines plays a bit more outside. It really depends on the team, who else gets injured, all that sort of thing. Yeah,
but look, at the end of the day, we've been a big Archie fan. And it would be great to see him get some consistency and even deliver it at AFL level on a consistent basis. And, we'd be pretty happy if he could do that.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's good to see that happening. And I'm a big Atlee fan too, as you know. So
well, he had a big game as well. He had 23 touches, 11 tackles, 4 inside 50s. So for a first game player that's playing at senior level, that is an exceptional performance, I think.
So what happened with the Maggies? Why did they lose? Everyone was talking about how good a side we were putting on the park.
Well, look, it was a good side, but we had no answer for their gun recruit key forward in Liam McBean, who was on Richmond's list for the last 3 or 4 years. Crossed over to Glenelg this year and kicked 6 goals. So we had no real answer for him. He took 8 marks as well. Which is not good signs for Logan Austin, I don't think. Because if he's allowing Liam McBean to have a big day out and a career best game on him, then that's a bit of a problem.
Yes, I agree. But Logan's coming back from injury, right?
Yep, that's true. Look, they also they had too much midfield, like clean midfield dominance, I think, on the night. They got a lot of the ball. We had a lot more inside 50s, and we certainly attacked the inside 50s pretty hard. But maybe it was the young forward line that we've got out there. Maybe they just couldn't get it together on the night.
Yeah, well, I guess it's a bit disappointing because everyone was sort of excited that we were going to smash Glenelg, and we did have a pretty strong team, and I guess Cracker and Pittard really didn't maybe go at 100% without seeing the game, but you would have hoped that their influence would have been a little bit stronger, and I guess that side that was out, we probably really should have beaten a reasonable SANFL side, surely.
Yeah, for sure. The disappointing performance for me was Riley Bonner. He was sitting on about 3 disposals for most of the game. Got a fair bit of it late, but for someone that's on the verge or should be on the verge of getting good game time. That was a pretty disappointing effort for me. Maybe with the forward line we're a bit top heavy because we're having to play a lot of tolls out there. You know, we've got Lobie in the ruck, we've got Laddams who's a ruckman who was playing up forward, we've got Frampton who's a ruckman who was playing up forward and also swapping in the ruck, and then we've got Todd Marshall as well, who did have a pretty impressive first game out, 15 touches and a couple of goals, which was nice. But maybe we're just a little bit top heavy.
Yeah, potentially. And I mean, that's one of the dilemmas we've got when we've got a few big guys and we've got to try and play them all, isn't it?
Yeah.
I see Ryan's trying to blame the umpires for the loss.
Don't know about that.
You don't know? I agree with Dylan though. We should just reward Logan Oskin for having a cool name. He's got the best name on our list.
It is. It was 32 free kicks to 20, so they did get a fair few more, but yeah. I'm not too sure you can blame the umpires, to be honest, but yeah, don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good cop out. I think we should blame the umpires for the showdown loss as well. I mean, what was going on with that Chad non-free in the last quarter when he was getting ridden by like a racehorse?
Well, as I think Janus or Schulzenfest said on Bigfooty, just attack the ball and you're probably going to get the free kick. Instead of waving your arms about and folding over, you know, try and get the ball and the umpire's going to see that you're going to be held. If you're throwing your arms and waving them about, they're going to assume that you're putting it on a bit. So
right.
It was clearly a free kick because he was clearly being held, but I can understand why the umpires didn't give it.
No, bullshit. If it's a free kick, you pay it. It doesn't matter what the other player's doing. I mean, there was one where Robbie Gray dived forward in the middle of the ground, and I actually didn't think it was a free kick because he really initiated that, but they paid that one. So it doesn't matter if you're hamming it up a little bit. I mean, we see players do that all the time. I mean, otherwise, why pay a deliberate out of bounds off a missed kick when a player's just trailing behind the ball with the arms out going, give me a free kick? Yeah, so, yeah.
Look, I thought we had a good run. Honestly, I thought we had the better of the umpiring on the night, to be honest. So I don't think we can really blame umpires for the showdown loss either.
No?
No. Look, there was 2 or 3 obvious ones that we should have got, but there was probably 2 or 3 obvious ones that the Crows were pretty hard done by as well, I think.
Right. Okay, so now Ryan's trying to make excuses that it's not him, it's Kane Corn, so it's whinging about the free kicks.
Look, 2 other players for the Maggies that I wanted to talk about. Willem Drew's first game at that level as well. He was reasonably impressive. He kicked a goal, a really nice goal off a pack, and had 15 touches. So he's one to look out for in coming weeks as well. Hopefully he can grow from that performance and start hitting those sort of low to mid 20s. And the other one was Jimmy Toumpas. Look, he was on 4 touches at half time, and Jimmy Toumpas was a pick 4. He should be dominating at that level. He looks an absolute mile off at this point in time. So
what's going on with the Toump? Is he injured?
I don't think so. I just think he's terribly out of form, and I don't know. That's all you can put it down to at the moment.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I feel sorry for him. But he's not the first high draft pick to fizz out, whether it's injuries or just not up to it. Who knows?
That's it. Well, mate, that's all I've got for this evening.
Really? You're normally chattier than this. Part of me thought about the showdown. Did we use too much juice in the first quarter? Like, it was a really physical game in that first 15 minutes. High impact, a lot of body on the line.
But we played out the game. Like, I'd understand if we were in front and the Crows overran us in the last sort of 20, 30 minutes, but it's not how it played out. Like, we came back hard in the latter half of the third quarter, and through the last quarter we tried very hard. And you know, if Sam Gray kicks that goal and we get a bit more momentum going, we could well have won the game.
True. But, I thought maybe because at the end of the first quarter, there was a lot of poor players that had their hands on their knees, like bent over, so they were blowing. And maybe I thought we did expend a bit of too much energy too quickly. And now Ryan's trying to backtrack and say that I'm trolling him. I need to make sure that I'm in this chat room earlier when the show's going on.
Yeah.
But all good, my friend. Have fun while I'm away. Mm-hmm. I should be able to do the show from Bali on next Monday if you want. That should be fun.
Possibly. We'll talk.
If you want me to.
We shall talk.
And
you enjoy Bali, mate?
I will enjoy Bali. And James Murray wanted a prediction before we went for next week.
Oh. We'll talk about that on Thursday night.
Well, whilst I'm here quickly, what's your prediction?
Oh, GWS by 5-6 goals at this early stage.
Yeah? And is Hawthorn doing what Hawthorn does? Tanking for draft picks?
Well, they don't have draft picks. So if they're tanking, they've either forgotten that they traded out their first rounder or they're doing it all wrong. quite simply. Because they're not going to get any sort of decent draft pick this year.
Are they hoping that they can do what they did many years ago and get a priority pick again?
Well, they're definitely not going to get a priority pick. But I think it goes to show that that's it for Hawks. I think that era of Hawthorn is now done. It's over.
Well, I'm a bit disappointed that you're burning your Hawthorn membership. Hey?
That's it. Look, there must be so many members that jumped on the bandwagon in the last couple of years that are crying themselves to sleep at the moment. But look, they had a good run. 4 consecutive grand finals. They won 3 premierships in a row.
Yes.
As we said in the pre-season and over the last couple of weeks as well, like what are the older players they have to play for? Like they've already achieved everything that they've wanted to do in their footy career. They were playing for history last year. They didn't make it. What are they playing for now?
Yeah, and I mean, as a compliment to them, how often did we compare ourselves to them over the last few years as well?
Look, we saw the same with Brisbane after we beat them in the 04 grand final. They didn't make the finals for I think 4 or 5 years after that, and they still had a team full of their premiership stars. But that's the thing when you're going for something so huge as winning 4 in a row and you don't get it, and the dream's over. I don't know.
And I find it interesting. Like, I think every era of a football club the culture is determined by a couple of players, and they have a lot more influence than what we think. So if we go back to Port, Fiachi and Timmy G and Delaney, and then you got Brisbane with their, Voss and Simon Black, and even if you go to SANFL, what the Gowan brothers were able to do for Centrals, and it's really interesting when you move just a couple of those cultural influencing players from a side, like Hawthorn has with Mitchell and Lewis, what damage it can do to the culture quite quickly. And, I think that's a major impact for a side like Hawthorn at this point in time.
Oh, for sure. No doubt about that at all. I think that was a huge issue for them and certainly going forward too. The other big surprise, I guess, was Freo after their disgraceful performance against us. They beat the Premiers.
Yeah, it's amazing. I didn't even realise they won it until just before because I thought they were in front and then didn't the Bulldogs hit the front?
They did. Freo led for most of the game and then the Dogs came pretty hard and Freo kicked, I think, the last 6 goals of the game. So good for them and I guess it goes to show that sometimes dropping poor-performing senior players can pay off.
Yeah, well, Daniel Pearce got dropped, didn't he?
He did. One of many senior players that got dropped on the day, and look, some of their younger players have played really, really well. Brady Gray had a big game. Hayden Crozier came back into the side, played really, really well as well. Cam McCarthy looked a bit more like a footballer, which was good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I guess that's where it shows that sometimes you have to send a strong message to senior players, don't you?
That's it.
But anyway, I better let you go to your young family. I'm going to go for a run around the block, so let's get going.
King amongst men, mate.
Yes. Let's do it.
That's it. Until next time, count the pair.
Adios. Go the power. Pacha.
Black to Scott. 7, 6, 5 seconds remaining. They go to the square. Leppich couldn't take the mark. Ball still alive. Port Adelaide are minor premiers for the first time in their history.